Holmes?
We don't.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll find out next hour.
Okay,
we'll find out who that is.
Moving on
She was bad.
to Kawhi Leonard. He's in the midst of a dominant playoff run where he's averaging over 31 points per game. Clippers head coach Doc Rivers had high praise for the star, calling his recent play the most like Jordan that we've seen. He'll have to continue this run to take down the Warriors. Here's Steph Curry on facing Kawhi.
He's a scorer, and he plays at his own pace really well. You try to speed him up, try to show him bodies, or play him one-on-one, and he has confidence to be able to get to a spot. So it's one of those things where one-on-one defense, you got to take that challenge, whoever's guarding him, try to force him into tough shots, understand he's going to make some of them, don't get deflated, get the ball out, go right back at him. But over the course of 48, same thing we do with any great scorer that we play against. It usually is not one person that we're going to leave on an island, but just got to make it tough on them. Same way that they try to do to us, no matter who we play.
CeCe, how can the Warriors slow down Kawhi?
Well, as Steph said there, they're going to send a number of bodies at him. Kawhi is a very, very unique basketball player. He's not relying on the three-point shot. He's not relying on getting in the lane. He's not relying like DeMar DeRozan as far as just being an intermediate shooter. I mean, he's the worst kind of basketball player. At all three levels, he is very good. Now, with his legs, which I believe he'll be healthier than he has been for a couple weeks, because Kawhi can play above the rim. He can be explosive. So his ability to be able to hit that three-point shot, to me, opens up everything else. His overall playmaking is at its best as far as his career, as far as his offensive skills. That was the last thing to be able to develop. So the Warriors have been a good defensive team, but they had no answer for LeBron James in these finals. They just were able to contain him. They're trying to keep LeBron under 40. For a goal for them is probably keep Kawhi under 35. I believe Kawhi will get 28 to 34 points every game. They're not going to be able to do anything. And if Durant was there, it would give them an extra layer, because you could have guys on the ball and then have some rim protection at the end. Iguodala is not 100%. This worst series was the worst one for him of the other three. So I look for Kawhi to be dominant, but they will pass him off. They will get Steph in some pick and rolls, and Kawhi will attack him. I think one of the ways to attack Kawhi, and Steph said it, is he's going to make some shots. When we get the ball, whoever he's guarding is going to have to be aggressive and take something out of him on the defensive end, Nick.
I feel like I know what the Warriors will do against Kawhi. I just don't know when they're going to unveil it. And that is what they did to Lou Williams in Game 6, the critical game against the Clippers after Lou Will had crushed him in Game 5. It's what they did to James Harden in Games 5 and 6 after the Rockets even the series. And it's what they did to Damian Lillard the entirety of the Western Conference Finals. We are going to blitz you. We are going to send two people at you and force the ball out of your hands and trust Draymond Green to play center field, so to speak. When it becomes a 4-on-3, we will see if you will be a willing passer. We will see if other people can beat us. We are not going to, if you're the Warriors, let Kawhi Leonard dominate the game while having a 40-plus point game. It is the one guy they've gone up against the last few years that is the hardest to blitz, and they couldn't really do it, was LeBron, because he is such an exceptional passer and because of his size. But Harden's a very good passer. They blitzed him. Dame's a willing passer. They blitzed him. Kawhi, of those two, is probably the least apt, the least skilled passing-wise. Now, he's also not bringing the ball up the court like those guys are, so he's not... You can't blitz him right past half court the way they were those guys when they were trying to initiate the offense. But I imagine that is what they will do with Kawhi. But I don't think they'll start the series off doing that, because it compromises potentially the rest of the defense. And if Danny Green actually hits shots this series, he would have open corner threes repeatedly if that is the strategy they take.
Yeah, I think it becomes very, very hard, Sarah, for a wing player. If you have a point guard, it's easy to set a trap for them, because every NBA team, what's their number one offensive weapon? They run pick and roll. when you have a wing player who is off the ball, and also you have that corner shooter. That corner shooter, his defender cannot blitz someone when he gets the ball. So Kawhi, his playmaking is going to have to be at its all-time best compared to taking a bunch of hard contested shots.
Well, and to your point about being a wing player, I think we see often out of Kawhi something different than we do with some others, like a Steph Curry, for example, the quick bringing it up the floor, the early pass, and then getting it back to be able to create. With Kawhi, I think often you see him when the double team comes, he's always making the right decision, and he can pass so well out of double teams. It's going to be, I think, a lot of it up to Nick Nurse where they put him on the floor. Do you believe, though, and Nick, start with you, do you believe that these players like a Van Vliet, or whether it's Danny Green, Marc Gasol, do you think that they can perform as well as we have seen them throughout the course of these playoffs to be able to complement the numbers that Kawhi will put?
Well, I don't think the moment's going to be too big for Marc Gasol. I know the NBA Finals aren't too big of a moment for Danny Green. Now, these entire playoffs, Danny Green, it wasn't just the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
After shooting a career best from three during the season, 45%, he's at 31% in the playoffs. He's got to break out of that slump. I don't think the moment will be too big. Fred Van Vliet seemed like the missing man, and then he made 14 of his last 17 threes. I think that question is what's going to determine this series. Because I think no matter how they defend Kawhi, I don't think Kawhi is going to have a 14.5 of 22 night in these finals. I think Kawhi is going to produce repeatedly, and it's going to be about of course, the Raptors on the defensive side are going to have a lot of problems to deal with, but set that side of the ball to the side, so to speak. Can the other guys, when they have their open shots that are generated from the attention being put on Kawhi Leonard, can they knock down those open shots? And can Marc Gasol be a dangerous three-point shooter, which if Boogie ends up playing, could play him off the court too?
Marc Gasol is a big key as far as Kawhi being able to take him away, because they have to be able to play big. You can't have Golden State force you to be able to play small. I believe Kawhi is going to be effective as a passer. You mentioned the guards coming off the bench. Norman Powell, Van Vliet, those guys in the Eastern Conference Final, they averaged 20 points between the two of them. If they get 20 points between the two of them, that's going to make this into a series. Powell starting to shoot the three-pointer, which opened up the dribble drive for him. If they get those types of things going, because they're going to have open shots. In the Milwaukee series, they had open shots against the Warriors. Are going to have open shots. It's a matter of knocking those shots down. So those reserve players, they play a key role in opening up the Warriors defense against Kawhi. Because if they're not hitting shots, then they're just going to collapse on Kawhi.
And the other element, real quick, when you said the Raptors have to be able to play big, I do not think the Raptors will win a single game in this series that they don't win the rebounding margin. They have to crush Golden State on the glass. It is where they have their most obvious advantage, is their size, their length, and their ability to get not only offensive rebounds, but to finish the defensive possession by getting defensive rebounds. They have to dominate that category every game that they're going to have a real chance to win.
All right, speaking of size, coming up, could Boogie Cousins be a major factor in the finals? That is next.
Stars leave. There's a reason in college football. Most teams do not win programs in the South. That's why players it's really hard to accumulate great talent in cold weather cities. That's the reality, regardless of. a three-guy